Hey, thanks for jumping on the Radiate Church podcast today. We've been in our new relationship series called Blueprints, where we're learning how to build relationships God's way. And so we're excited because every Wednesday throughout the month of February, we're going to be dropping one episode each Wednesday that includes real life conversations with real life singles and married couples, where they talk about real life problems and issues that they have faced in the season of life that they're in. And these episodes are filled with real life practical solutions from the Bible and just common sense things that you can apply today to better your relationship, no matter the season that you find yourself in. So, hey, take a minute before we get started, subscribe to this channel, whether it's the Apple, Spotify, maybe the YouTube channel that you're watching and listening on. Like it, leave a comment, let us know what you think. We want to make more content like this. We want to hear from you. So without further ado, let's jump in with Pastor Brandon and Pastor Megan as we dig deep into these real and raw conversations, learning about how to build relationships God's way.
Hey guys, welcome to another bonus episode here on the Radiate Church podcast. We are so excited that you're joining us again today. I know you hopefully have already listened to last week's bonus episode number 1 from week 1 of our relationship series, Blueprints. And so we're doing this each and every week of the series so that we can dive a little bit deeper into the topics of relationships, love, marriage. Wherever you are on the love journey, we believe that there's something for you biblically in that and what that looks like. And what we're doing is my beautiful, amazing co-host in life and the podcast.
What's up, everybody?
Megan, my wife, she's with me on this, and we're having conversations with different people about each topic. And so today, what we're doing is we're going to dive into the idea and the conversation of intimacy, biblical intimacy in marriage and God's design for that. And let me go ahead and disarm you a little bit, right? Like the whole episode's not about sex, right? Just want to get that out. I had to say that louder than anything else. Here's the truth, right? And this is kind of what we talked about this past week, is sex is a form of intimacy, but intimacy is not sex, right? It's not just sex. And so we want to talk about, what does that look like? Like, what does it look like in marriage? What does it look like in dating? We don't want to do things outside of God's way to create soul ties to people that we're not supposed to be tied to, all this kind of stuff. So anyway, I am excited today because we have some great friends with us that are a part of Radiate Church and been here for quite a while. Leaders in the church. We got Ben and Shaniqua Karanja, right?
Hey guys.
They're with us today.
Yes,
we are going to have a blast. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be so great. And like he said, thank you so much. We are honored that you guys are here.
Yeah.
And you're going to just tell us all we need to know about intimacy, right? You guys, you're so ready. But we love you guys and your 2 boys. Your family is so incredible to us here at Radiate. And we're just going to kick off. Why don't y'all tell us a little bit about yourselves and also how long you've been married?
Wow. How long have we been?
Let's go.
You should know how long we've been married.
Benjamin Karanja. We have my beautiful wife, Shaniqua Karanja. And we've been married for
15 years this year.
This is great.
This is getting started
It's real
really
life.
good.
15 years.
Real life.
We've been together 20 years, married 15 this year.
Ben, this just started and you're already in the doghouse today.
Already.
Good
Oh,
job.
good. He's going to
Good
redeem
job.
himself.
That's good.
15 years, and she's given me 2 beautiful boys. Awesome kids.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Right now they're on, some punishment, right? What do they do?
Who do the boys act more like, Shaniqua or Ben?
Ooh. BJ is expensive like me. And Kingston is unique like Ben.
There we go. We'll go with that.
Okay.
I like that.
Fun fact, both of their boys started our first kids life group here at church.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. It's something to really be
They're
proud of.
incredible.
They got a double dose of leadership out of the 2 of us. I don't know if that's good yet. We'll have to see.
We feel
They have
that.
their
We feel that.
strong values, which is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's great.
And strong personalities.
And Ben, you can probably hear it on the podcast if you don't know Ben. Ben is from Kenya.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm not even going to try to say the tribe and all that because we were talking beforehand. But yeah, that's a
Been
cool story.
in the U.S. for 20,
to
25.
say 20 plus at this point.
Yeah, 20 plus years.
25.
You know,
Yeah.
so I basically grew up in Kenya and also grew up here in different ways. So cultural differences and stuff like that. But it's been a journey.
That's awesome.
It's
I
been
love
a
it.
journey.
How cool.
And then you met the love of your life in Charleston.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, which is Shaniqua, by the way.
It better be me.
Yes.
It better be me.
Obviously.
It should equal, yes.
All right, let me ask you this, right? So to kind of get the ball rolling in the intimacy and in the relational status in stratosphere, if you will, how would you describe, right? So relationships are quirky and weird, and I know Megan and I have been together about as long as y'all been together 20. We've been together about 20. In the dating phase, if you can remember some of that, but up through engagement, married, now with kids, a leader at church and in your jobs and all this place, right? How in the world does the role of faith fit in to your relationship? Not just in intimacy, but just your relationship in general. How does the role of faith fit in there?
Well, Faith had to take a front row seat from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Because as Ben mentioned, being from Kenya, we have cultural differences that I would say kind of created some friction and frustration in the beginning, perhaps.
Tension.
So it took a lot of prayer, took a lot of leaning on God to truly get to know each other and learn to trust each other, especially coming from two different ways that we viewed things and thought about things. So faith it had to be something we leaned on very early.
Yeah.
We centered in something we were both had a common in, and faith was the commonality in both of that, and so we started off with that. We had our disagreements or our viewpoints, and some of them we still do. We have our discussions about faith, so we still have that, and we continue to grow in that. So
it's actually quite fun. We have a lot of theological conversations still to this day.
Yes.
And it used to be theological conversations that was a little bit maybe tense in the beginning.
Yeah.
Because Ben grew up in a culture where missionaries came in and taught, and it was maybe some aggressiveness in how it was taught, whereas for me, it was more of a gentle teaching, so it came second nature, whereas for Ben, it was kind of like, I don't know how much more I want someone to be talking at me with faith,
True, and we had also our cultural beliefs that they had to either push aside or be like, we don't necessarily, and there was that little bit of resistance in that, but majority of our populace, we still believed and we read and we were educated and went through that whole understanding of faith in God. And stuff. Yes.
Before, I know Megan's got a question, but let me say, I love that you're talking about having conversations theologically and faith-wise, in the sense of we may see some things the same, but there's differences. I never thought about the missionary side until you just said that. Wow, that brings a whole different perspective to it, right?
It does, yes.
And then I love, but here's the thing that a lot of people miss in spiritual intimacy. Spiritual intimacy is not just agreeing with everything; it's learning how to discuss everything.
Right.
Yes,
Really good.
exactly.
Right.
Your interpretation.
And have the conversations of I don't know that I believe that,
Yes.
And then it's but I do, and here's why, and it's just back and forth, and then it's usually this idea. What normally happens in those conversations is both people come to an understanding that there's a side of this that I hadn't seen before. Maybe I still don't agree with
That
what you
actually
said.
happens quite a bit. And so Ben had more of a big world view of faith,
Yeah.
coming from a different culture, although they were Christian, he also knew people from all over the world. So they believed all different things.
Wow.
Whereas me being a little old girl from South Carolina, I only knew Christianity. And so anytime he would talk to me at all about anything other than Christianity, I was like, blasphemy.
Yeah.
You can't talk to me about, and so I've learned. And even now, like we literally, 2 weeks ago had a really great conversation about the five main world faiths.
Yes.
Because I'm taking a chaplaincy class, and so it's really expanding my thought process, not changing my beliefs, but expanding my thought processes. So now we get to have conversation, and I'm not like,
I did too. That's
don't
great.
talk to me about Buddhism. Now I can actually hear him, and we can have a discussion.
And as you're an ordained pastor,
Right?
And I think what can happen in that, and Megan, I'm going to let you run after this, but because I could talk about this stuff all day.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I think when you
it's
get in
great.
that realm, right, you can get so bottled in to your doctrine, your dogmatic views, your all this stuff.
Yeah.
And it's not that you have to hold them and go, I'm going to change them. It's just I think things change as you grow.
Yes.
And so, like, I'm sure your mindset has changed after these conversations, and vice versa,
Right.
on maybe not core beliefs and theological stances, but maybe so. And I love that, because I think sometimes whenever we, if we're younger in the faith and we hear we have to be, equally yoked, I think, which is absolutely accurate. I think some people believe that just means I need to be in blind agreement no matter what, and that's just not.
No.
That never happens with anything, right?
Well, that's not marriage.
You get exposed,
right.
Growing up, especially from where I came from, you get exposed to different types of peoples, cultures, and even within our country, there's also the tribal cultures we also have had to consider. For her, she did. She came from here, and it was only the one thing that she was taught from being, growing up. For me, I had to, learn about my own culture, my neighbor's culture, my other tribal culture, and it kind of you all get along, you do fine, and you still have to consider there's still some stuff they do and some stuff that we in general don't agree with, but we all still got along.
And it created these types of conversations actually creates intimacy for us.
Right. Yep.
Because since there has been years of us having these deep theological conversations, it actually helps me grow in the faith. It helps Ben grow in the faith. And then, like, we're sitting together, like, learning together. It creates this opportunity for intimacy in that way.
Well, it ties you together.
Yep.
And you're married, so it's the right time, place, and environment.
Right.
I
to
love
do
that.
Megan.
I love that. And I learned a couple things from this conversation already. And it goes for any relationship. It is not necessarily what you say, but how you say it.
Yes.
You even said we recently had a good conversation, and we could do a whole nother one on, communication, right? But also, like, faith is the opposite, like you tell us, of what we see. Yeah. Faith is the opposite of sight. So how can sometimes we come on so headstrong about things we think we know about that honestly we weren't even built to fathom.
Right.
So we need to stay in wonder together. And I just love that you still have questions, because we always will.
Yes.
But you aren't always in agreement, but you still love each other. And that is just beautiful.
It's good.
And a part of intimacy, I think.
Yeah.
And speaking of, how has you guys' understanding of intimacy evolved over time in your marriage?
You want me to start that one?
You go ahead.
I'll start.
Go ahead.
Evolved over time over marriage. I want to point out age real quick.
Okay.
We met, I would say we were young. Some people wouldn't say we were young, but we were young. And so intimacy had one thought, sex, But over the course of growing, learning, you realize that it's not just sex. Intimacy is connection and conversation. It is a random handhold when you're just kind of riding in the
great.
car. It's over the course of marriage, I feel like we've learned that it won't always be a physical thing. I mean, we've had children, so there's 6 weeks each time you have a baby that intimacy and on the sex level doesn't happen. And so you learn through the course of marriage that it has to be more than sex. It has to be.
It does. It's
more.
Sitting at the Sonic, sharing a cheeseburger and people watching.
Aw, that's one of our favorite
People
dates.
watching. Now you're talking my language.
That's one
People
of our
watching,
favorite
boy.
dates. We literally now we sound like stalkers, but
and we sitting there like
People are awesome.
With our
Yes, they
very
are.
last $5, so
I remember those
we
days.
can get 2 cheeseburgers and a large fry. There we go.
And that
we
was the
sat there,
date.
and that was it. It was a date because we were both working, we were both struggling, but we found that time.
And that was
to be like-
intimacy
Yeah,
for us.
mhm, Yeah,
You know, it was because we're best friends. We got a chance to talk, laugh. You know,
Yeah.
Look,
Yeah.
I forgot about those cheeseburgers.
Look at there.
That's awesome.
I love that.
I love the idea that intimacy is more than an act, right? And here's what, and I'm getting to something with this. I want people to realize in marriage, I'm going to speak specifically to marriage right now, that when you get married and the pursuit doesn't stop. I think
That's right,
intimacy is
that's
found
right.
in the pursuit
Yeah.
as much as anything, right?
Yes,
Yes,
absolutely.
And so, like, I think this mentality, men are hunters.
Yes.
And so, like, when we get the trophy, we're like, now it's on to the next trophy, right? And so, and that sounds terrible, but the reality is, right, that in marriage, a lot of times, if we're not careful, as with that being our native mind as men, we can go, well, I got the wife, I don't have to pursue because now I've got what I went out for.
wanted, yeah.
And the truth is, as men, I think we have to pursue. Right?
We still do.
I think it still has to be there. And I love what you're talking about with, hey, our last $5, we got 2 cheeseburgers and a fry.
Yeah, that's right.
Good.
The idea wasn't, I'm not going to spend time with her. It was, I got $5 that I can spend. 5. And maybe it wasn't the last 5, but it was the 5 you had to spend.
At that time, it was.
Yeah,
and
right?
And we were like, all right, next paycheck don't hit till tomorrow. So we gotta
Don't need gas before we get paid, baby.
eat. Yeah, so.
And so here's my question for you guys. What is a practical way, and you've kind of talked about it, so I'm setting you up, I'm giving you a softball, right?
Okay.
What's a practical way that you keep emotional, spiritual, and physical intimacy thriving in your relationship? I mean, you've been married 15 years, been together 20. There is a way to do it biblically, right? And so biblically, while you guys are thinking of your answer, biblically, it feels like intimacy is a building. It's not like, oh, let me just jump all in because she's hot and he's hot. No, it's a building process,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
It's learning to pursue. It's learning to see who they are more than what they offer.
Yes.
All right, and then you get into marriage, and God's like, enjoy it all. You've built towards that. So, been married 15, together 20, got kids, in ministry, ordained minister. You're a big deal at work. You're just a big deal everywhere, Ben. All this stuff, right? And like, there's a lot of pressures. How do you keep the spiritual, physical, and emotional intimacy thriving in your marriage?
Well, it's funny. Do you want to? You
go ahead. I'll jump in.
So here's the thought process. Intimacy to me, and I think Ben would agree, is it equals trust. So if you're constantly building trust, you are building intimacy because you have to trust your partner in order to do intimacy in any of those areas.
That's good.
Emotional, spiritual, you have to trust your partner. And so I think of trust as being one of those things that you are gradually building.
Yeah.
Because with each phase of marriage or relationship, you are getting to know your partner more and in a different way. But what I would say a practical thing that maybe couples can try, something that we are doing, so we would never suggest something we're not doing, is work on an actual project together. Ben and I are actually writing a devotional together. It's been interesting.
That's
It has, no.
But that helps with the spiritual intimacy, because here we are going through the scriptures and picking the right verses and writing prayers. We were just talking about this the other day. Somebody needs to be more present in the writing of the prayers.
I'm there. Being here, cooking.
Yes, but so having a project, ours is the devotional, but I actually do believe having a spiritual project can help be a practical way that someone can continue to develop intimacy.
I love that.
Because even on an emotional level, when we read the scriptures and we are writing these prayers, we're talking about how it connects to Ben, because this particular devotional is for people in the trades. So, and he's in the trades.
Yes.
So it gets us talking about some of the struggles and the things of that nature. So it does kind of help us climb that
does
hill.
help, when I come home and sort of vent.
Sort of. Vent.
Sort of.
Of how my work day goes, and I think she picks up on that and tries to draw that out and see what she can come up with, in regards to prayer and scripture, and put it out in a book and see what can help. And
And it might
It's
sound
good going, yeah.
it might sound cheesy to some people listening, but customize it to fit your relationship.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be what we do,
yes,
but do something. And if you can allow it to have a core of spirituality, I mean, man, it's going to hit all the marks.
Yeah. One of the things you say is intimacy means into me I see.
Into me you see.
Into me you see.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, like you're saying, see your person, whatever makes them tick, compromise, work together, figure it out. That right there is intimacy, seeing each other. One of the things he loves is sending me like a challenge of sorts. And the first time he sent me one, like it was an intimacy challenge. And I was like, oh goodness, is this where, that sounds bad, but is this where we like go at it every day, like physically? And, and I mean, and there's intimacy challenges between like spiritual ones for you and the Lord, but like this is for marriage. And he's sending it to me. And my first thought is like, oh my goodness.
He would.
Like, can we not do that on Wednesday? But when you look at it, at the challenge, though, there's like little things. I'm like, I love this.
Yeah.
Like there's little things to help you see each other, things that make my heart tick, like time together with our family and, game nights, whatever it is.
Yes.
And he knows that about me. So he saw me. It's not all sex.
Right.
Yes.
So, yeah.
It goes back
Find
to
your
something
thing.
you said earlier, Pastor Brandon, about how men are hunters, and once they hunt for the trophy, it could potentially be like, okay, I've got the trophy. But the thought process is like, for the wives who may be listening, we can still be the trophy that looks different. We can be polished and shine in a different way where the guy's like, ooh, look at that trophy, and want to hunt for it again. And so I feel like to do that, it does take us being willing and open to hearing what they need, seeing what they need, and kind of becoming that.
Yeah.
I know in 2025, there's a stigma or a thought process as it relates to how we tend to view independence and things of that nature. But in marriage and intimacy, like there should never be a time that we stop trying. Like, so just like we don't want the man to stop pursuing, we as women, we don't want to stop being the thing that needs to be pursued. We want to do what we can to.
Well, I would
be
say this,
there.
and I think, Ben, you would agree, and feel free to kick back if not. But like the truth, men want to be pursued too. It's just different. It's different, right?
It is. It's not like I'm one to claw on you or anything. Just being attentive and to hear
Respectful.
and to just be there sometimes. And even sometimes you have a long day and you just want to decompress and sitting together, one plays, your little video games.
That's a message for me.
And that's actually
He's letting me know.
He said, Shaniqua said that was a shot.
He's like, Dagger, I want to play my game when I get off. I hear you.
or trying to figure out about our life in general, where we're going and stuff like that. So that's
well, it's this idea, right? Intimacy, and I know we're kind of off script a little bit, but intimacy, if it's into you, I see, right? It's this idea that I see you. I see what drives you, what annoys you, what you like, and what you hate. And so I take all of that into consideration when acting, when living, when doing things. And Shaniqua, you're right. There's this stigma on this independence thing out there right now. And I don't want to ruffle feathers, but here's the truth. When you're married, why get married if you just want to be independent the whole time?
Right.
You get married because there's somebody, not that you can't do life with, but that you don't want to do life without.
That's right. Your helpmates.
Yeah.
Not hurtmates.
And so there's this idea of like, all right, into you, I see. Into, and so there's this idea of like, all right, sweet, that's awesome. Like you want, some men would go, I just wish my wife would take initiative. Great. You know what the wife needs to do? Take initiative.
Right.
But the wife may be going, I just want him to put his phone down, turn on a movie, and let's sit together as a family in the living room, eat popcorn and watch a movie.
Let's go.
Guess what the man needs to do? Put his phone down, turn on a movie, make some popcorn, and sit in the living room with his family and watch a movie.
Just do it.
That's pursuit
Worth it.
of both.
The one thing we made a commitment to early on, and we had our rough patch, was it was us. It was we had the whole us against the world. We didn't have nobody to turn to. We didn't grow up with a good example of marriage. Her and I was raised by a single parent, so marriage was not something I saw every day. So I didn't know how to do marriage.
Wow.
On her side, it wasn't.
Yeah, I saw marriage every day, but it wasn't a good example.
It wasn't a good example. So when we left Charleston and moved up here, it was just us. And we promised each other there was no way out. So we had to see into each other.
That's good.
We had to, do that.
We closed every door of exit.
Okay, and my question is, what drove you guys to get to that place where all we have is each other and not staying stuck there or letting that be a negative thing? Like vulnerability in your relationship is extremely important. Yes. How did you guys get to that place where you have those hard conversations and see each other as a gift and not like an enemy? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There were times that we probably did see each other as enemies, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because when you do close the door on all exits and there's a war in the house,
we're going to fight it out.
We're going to fight this thing out.
We do.
But I think we got there because we realized that if we let anybody else in, especially the people that we knew, like our families, different things, if we let them in, we would not be where we are today. We wouldn't be together. And it wasn't because we didn't honor or value them. It was just because they couldn't give us a model that we needed. Wow. The thought was, if we do not do this, we won't make it. And we were best friends. And the thought process was, we're best friends who embarked on a marriage.
Yeah.
If we don't make it, we would lose our friendship too. And that was so important to us. So that's, I think, what
it was
helped
important.
us.
And we marriage has been done. People have been married for long, but at least we decided we had to create something.
That's good.
Create something out of this chaos around us. And we both talked about having a family and setting a good example for what we didn't do, so what we didn't have.
Right.
So, that was motivation, not giving up.
So good.
And obviously praying and just following the word.
Praying,
I love that.
Praying, crying, screaming,
laughing.
fighting.
Sounds like playing the long game is
Yes,
important.
it is
like
a long game.
seeing
Yeah.
more than your circumstance that you're in that
Yes.
moment and that fight.
Yes.
You're thinking ahead. You're thinking about children. You're thinking about vision for them and just what's to come.
Yeah.
seeing beyond and being patient with the Lord and just doing what every day He sends you out to do and stuff. Once you're long enough, stuff just started falling up in place. I get blessed with work. She get blessed being ordained and following that and being head first in it. So
We had to do a lot of dying to self too. We had to kill the flesh a lot, because we were. I mean, you could imagine not having the right example created some toxicity in both of us in different ways,
Right.
and so there was a lot of having to. Like Ben said, we prayed a lot, tried to listen to what God was telling us to do. He was telling us, but it was about, okay, are we going to listen? Are we going to do it? So there were, many apologies where there was lead in our feet as we were dragging ourselves to the other person to say, man, I was so wrong for what I said.
Yeah.
And so we thought, let's just be obedient until we mean it.
Right.
Let's do what we know God is asking us to do, even if we don't want to. Until we mean it.
Come on. Till it's a part of you.
All right.
Yes.
Till you
I love
believe
that
it.
phrase. Be obedient until you mean it.
Yeah.
In other words,
know
do
what to
it
do.
even if you don't want to do it.
it's a
Man.
great relief, I would say, to go to your partner and say you're sorry for something, and it's also bigger relief when the woman comes and says, "Hey, you know what? You were right." I'm like,
Okay.
That's when
one
you
of the
pull out your
few-
phone and record it, right?
Hey.
No, I love that, and so
yeah,
to kind of, because I want you guys. Here's a question for you to think on, right, as we're ending this thing. Like, if you could leave with one piece of advice, just one quick tidbit. Bit of tid for everybody listening, what would it be? But here's what I'm kind of grabbing from the conversation today is intimacy is not just a physical act, but it's an intentional one. It's an intentional one to see someone, to pursue them.
Yeah.
And you don't always get it right. And sometimes intimacy is as easy as my bad. I'm sorry. I got it wrong, or I'm going to get better at this, or, whatever.
Yeah.
It's so many different ways to
when
do
you
this.
bring a problem and you're doing a problem solving and you don't agree, but in the end it comes together and works out, and like I said, we agree, and next thing you know, it's hey, you take your
Yeah.
clothes off, because
Now, if you're dating or
real phone.
engaged,
Don't do that.
that's
Don't do that.
married. That's married,
That's for the married folks.
Hey, when you have.
I had that.
Did y'all ever have friendships growing up, or even your relationship now, and you were like, it's an inside joke? Have you ever done that? And you're
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
you wouldn't
Every-
understand. I feel like it just came to me. I feel like intimacy is kind of like that. Like, I just can't explain to you like
Yes.
Yes.
fully what it is, because it's just so much more than something I can say.
It's just
And it's
between
custom
us.
know,
to the couple.
Yeah,
It's
just like who
custom.
God is, like He's unfathomable.
Yeah.
Like that's intimacy, or how it should be.
Yeah.
Like you just wouldn't get it. Like it's an
Yes.
inside joke, you
Yeah.
know.
I love it.
That's
But
good.
All right. Give me one
things.
quick bite of information. Hey, if I could leave everybody with one thing, here's what it is.
Don't
What,
take
Pastor?
yourself. Don't take yourself too seriously.
Oh, that's good.
Flex your humor muscle.
Yeah.
Because honestly, there's going to be times you're going to have to laugh in order to not cry.
Yeah.
As you're trying to embark on deepening and developing intimacy. So learn to laugh and have fun and be okay with the fact that you might mess up, but you can fix it and be friends. All the things.
Yeah, our claim, we're not perfect by
at all.
far.
It's good.
We're still always every day striving to be intimate with each other and finding new ways.
Especially with our schedules.
Yeah, with our schedules, busy schedules, and just talking about it. And if you're struggling, just talk.
Love it.
Communicate, like you say. Open your mouth and say, "Hey, maybe struggling this," and
And be open-minded to hear what they're saying.
Yeah.
And what they're saying.
Be a safe space for
Be a
your
safe
person
space,
to
yes.
come to you and talk to you about the hard stuff.
I love it so much. And here's what I want to leave everybody with. If you're married, right, and you have a significant other in your life in marriage, man, pursue them daily, in their way, and speak their love language. If you're dating, single, dating, engaged, wherever you are on the journey, I would just say be careful before you jump into physical intimacy. That is reserved for marriage for a reason.
Yes.
And it's because there's a biblical order to protect. It's not to deny us of something great. It's to help give us something greater.
Right.
And so I didn't want to jump into that, and make that this podcast about that, but it is something that I think needs to be said in today's world, is like, when you jump in too early, you get into things you're not ready for. And man, marriage just gives you a safe space to enjoy it all. So here's what I want to say. I want to say to Ben and Shaniqua, thank you guys for being here, man. This was fun.
Thank you for having us.
A lot of laughs, a lot of good conversations, a lot of good takeaways. Thank y'all so much. Megan, you're always great. You're always amazing. You're
not
incredible.
Always, but
not always.
Yeah.
I'm not always.
We get it wrong.
Anyway, can you quickly pray us out, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, for sure. God, thank you so much for your love and your kindness. Thank you for this opportunity. I pray, Lord, that the testimony shared today, the questions answered, the conversation, God, I just pray that it brings light to dark situations, God, and helps others, like your word says, that we are overcome by the blood of the Lamb, your Son, Jesus, and the word of our testimony. I pray, Lord, that these words have helped others overcome, because we know your word also says there will be trials, but Jesus overcame the world, and I pray someone feels that today. Thank you for being light and hope, and thank you for the Karanjas. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Hey, again, thank you so much for jumping in. Make sure you like this episode, subscribe to the channel, share it with friends on social media, wherever, because we just are excited of who this may actually help. Hey, listen, we can't wait to see you for week 3 of Blueprints, our relationship series, this coming Sunday. At both locations and online, or all 3 locations, including the Blake, and online. Hey, listen, we love you, and let's go change the world. We'll see you soon.
Thanks again for jumping on the Radiate Church podcast today. It is our prayer and hope that you took something away from this conversation today that you can apply to your life, your relationship, your marriage, whatever season you're in. And so we want to be praying for you. So if there's anything that we can do to pray for you in the season of life you're in, would you drop a comment below and let us know how we can pray for you? Until next time, church, let's go change the world.